Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do data transformation in ETL job with using AWS Glue. So here, I'm going to walk you through a solution right away now, and later I'm going to show you how to set up this solution in AWS and how does it works. All right. So here we will have a service called AWS S3 bucket where source data will be kept, and the source data is in the form of CSV. And the other side we will have an AWS Glue service. That's where we're going to use the features like AWS Glue crawlers, AWS Glue ETL jobs, which will actually do the job, right? So here, since the data is there in a AWS S3 bucket source data, we're going to use Glue crawlers, which actually cross the data from S3 bucket into AWS Glue catalog service. Okay, so here, so what we do is, we're going to create this custom crawler, which actually, takes the source data from S3 bucket in the form of CSV file and puts that into AWS Glue Data Catalog, which is nothing but a SQL table kind of database. Yeah. And then we're going to use AWS Glue Transform service, which is actually heart of the, this demo. So here we will see like, how to create an ETL job, which actually consists of a task called how to transform your source data into a certain format, and that data has to be kept in a destination bucket. Okay, so for that case we will basically use the data that is produced by the source in the form of AWS Glue catalog. So we will use the AWS Glue catalog as a source data, and then we're going to use the AWS Glue ETL job to transform the data in a certain pattern, and we're going to store that data into a destination S3 bucket in the form of a Parquet data, right? So henceforth the flow is something like this, which as you follow in the screen. Now once the data is kept in the form of Parquet files, now we need to create a one more crawler which actually takes that S3 bucket Parquet data as an input and then converts that into a usable AWS Glue data catalog, data. Yeah. So in total, if I can show you in a more detail, so basically here we will have a S3 bucket source data that is has a raw data and it is not a polished data, right? Now we're going to see how to use AWS Glue service features to polish the data and store it in a AWS Glue data catalog finally. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to take you to my AWS account here. So this is my AWS account, and currently I'm in S3 bucket. I'm in currently Amazon S3 service page, and here I have a bucket called uh, data bucket source site. So I'm going to open this one. So here, this is my source file. Okay, so if I show you that source file, so this is how it looks. That is a CSV file. It contains the data in this format. In the sense, it has a column 0, column 1, column 2 as a header, and these are like a dummy data. I just kept an example CSV file. Let's see how to transform this data. This is how to use that glue transform capabilities and transform this data in the form of a certain patterns. Yeah. All right. So that's the reason this is our source. If I go back to the diagram, so this is where our source bucket is all about. Yeah. And then what we do is now we will also see how to transform this data, in the sense this test report.csv file with using AWS. For that case, what I did is I have already opened an AWS Glue service of my AWS account. So this is currently I'm in AWS Glue service page, and I'm currently in North Virginia page. In the sense, I'm currently in a North Virginia region. So here, as I said in the previous walkthrough, first we need to create a crawler which actually crawls this data. In the sense, it actually extracts this data and puts it in a AWS data catalog. In the sense, in the Glue catalog, basically. Yeah. So for that case, we just go to the AWS Glue service space. This is the AWS Glue service space. You need to go to the data catalog, and in the data catalog, we will have a crawlers. We're going to click on that crawlers and click on a create crawler. So what I say is here we need to give a name of the crawler called source data. I'm just going to keep it like a source data, and then rest all option keep it default. In the choose data sources and classifiers, click on add source. In the add source, choose the data source. In the sense, choose this data source as S3 bucket. Network options keep it default. In the location S3 bucket, in this account, because this is the account where my bucket is sitting, click on the S3 path, that is browse. and here you're going to choose your data source bucket. So my data source bucket is this one, so I'm going to choose that or select that radio button, and after that you need to keep a forward slash. Okay, so that's the reason it will go that red mark now, right? So now your S3 path is being created. All right, and then with that S3 bucket is being created, I'm going to click on add source. Okay, and then we're going to next in the security configurations, you need to choose an IAM role. So here I'm going to use a ETL lambda IAM role. So I have explained this, what is this ETL lambda access role is. This is an IAM role which has an admin privilege. Because this is a demo, I have given an admin privilege, and this role has a trust relationship with the AWS Glue services, and there are certain services. Okay, so that's the reason I have chosen that existing IAM role. Now let's go to the next the step, that is set the output and scheduling. Okay, so in the output and scheduling, so here our output, if I go to the diagram, so this is our source, right? We are using the crawler, and then it is going and setting in AWS Glue Data Catalog. Basically it should be within this block, but I'm just kept it as an output. Since this is an output, so I'm showing it outside the the that block. Yeah. All right, so what we do is, since I don't have any database, let's add a database. So for that case, I'm going to click on that add database. What I do is, I'm going to give it as an, say, like a demo DB. I'm just give the name like a demo DB, create a demo DB. So we have created a database called demo DB, and then now refresh it. You should be able to list that demo DB table. So this is our demo DB table. Table prefix, I don't want to give any prefix right now. We will see how to use it in the later case. Click on next, and then what you do is you're going to click on create crawlers. Once you go back to the crawler page again and refresh the button, you should see that your crawler is ready. So with that being said, what I do is I'm going to run this crawler, so that it actually extracts the data that is present in the Amazon S3 bucket and puts it in a AWS data AWS Glue Data Catalog options. Okay, so currently it is running, so we need to wait for it, and then we're going to go for the next step. So basically this solution contains 3 steps, in the sense, generally, since this is a demo, so how to use the AWS transforming data with the Glue services, right? So this is how we are setting this demo. What I do is, once this crawler is complete, we're going to go to the next step. That is, the next step is itself is actually a transforming data, in the sense, once the data is being extracted and loaded in a AWS Glue data catalog, then from there we're going to use this AWS Glue transformer. Okay, so for that case we need to create a ETL job. Okay, so before that, let's see if this job is completed, and we should see the tables listed here. So for that case, you can go to the data catalog, click on a databases, and click on this demo one. So here you should be able to see a table getting populated once the crawler job gets completed. Okay, so for now the crawler job is in progress, so that's the reason it is not yet extracted. So let's wait. So since it is in stopping state, we should be able to see a table here. So I'm going to refresh it now. So if you see here, now the data, it has created a table right underneath the database called demo database. Okay, so our demo database, once I click on a demo and refresh the demo database, it should be listed here, right? So you see that our table is listed. If you click on this table and go to the the table, in the sense, if you see here, the schema of table is not expected, right? So for example, say I'm just telling, this is a use case of ETL, right? So where you need to do a certain transformation. So this is a case where your source data is not in the form of a required format. Okay, so for that case, first the thing is, we need to transform this column. Okay, so my column name is not column 0, column 1, and column, and instead of that I need to give us some generic name. Okay, so for that case, you can change the settings, in the sense, you can change the column name right here by clicking on edit schema, and then click on each columns and click on edit. So instead of column name, let's give it as a SN, right? And then save it. Similarly, you're going to change the other columns as well, that is column number 1. So column number 1 for my case is, for example, say I will just say G name. I'm just giving some random name, so let's consider as a G name. And then in the third column, let's give it as a, say, like a description. So I'm just going to give it as a description. Yeah, so let's keep it as a caps. So I'm just going to give a description. Okay, so I've just kept the fourth column name as a description. You see, I have given the column name as required, and then save a new table version. Click on that. Once that is done, now we are good to go and create an ETL job. For that case, we go to the ETL jobs and click on a visual ETL. So in the visual ETL, what we do is, as I explained in the in the solution walkthrough. So we're going to click on this add button. In this one, our source here is what? So here our source is acting as um, basically S3 bucket. So why S3 bucket? You might be confused here. Why in the AWS Glue transformation, why I'm again still pointing my arrow to S3 bucket source data? Why? There is a reason behind it, which I'm going to explain it right now. So let's choose our source as a Amazon S3 bucket and give it name as a source S3 bucket. So I'm going to keep it as a source S3 bucket. So this is our source S3 bucket. So here, as I said you, so there was a reason, right? So here you need to choose S3 source type. You see our S3 source type is not S3 bucket itself. It is, instead of that, it is a data catalog. So for that case, you need to choose the data catalog. And in that data catalog, you need to choose the database, that is demo database. After that, we're going to choose a table that is nothing but, the data bucket source side is our table name. Yeah. So with that option, basically that's the reason. That was the reason, this arrow was been shown something like this. Okay. For step number 2, where the source is again still S3 bucket, but virtually it is still referencing from the AWS Glue Data Catalog table. And from there, we are actually using the Glue transforming job. Okay. So in the Glue transforming job, so this is what we did. And here in the data preview options, you're going to use the ETL job. In the sense, you're going to use the ETL basically. So you're going to use this one, ETL Lambda access rule. Click on start session, which actually what it does is it's going to extract the data that is present in this table and going to list it here. So this is very best practice that, whenever you construct a ETL job, you're going to do this, you're going to do this data preview jobs as well. So here, so what I do is, meantime, I'm going to give the name of this ETL job as demo ETL job. So, okay, so this is my job name. Now, as you see here, currently it is in preview. So what is this preview operation is all about is, in the previous step, we created a crawler which actually crawls the data from the source S3 bucket and puts it in the form of AWS Glue data catalog table. And from the data catalog table, we are actually, using a preview. In the sense here, we are using that ETL role and trying to preview the data here. Currently, it is, the loading is in preview state. So once that is completed, we need to go to the next step, that is actually transforming data, right? So we will see that in a minute. So basically, currently, it's almost about to complete, right? So let's, so basically, since this is a pure live session, so you need to be patientful. Have a patience while I'm showing you everything live. All right. So let's wait for a few seconds and see, the preview here. You see that it says 100% complete. We should be able to see the data right away. Here you go, right? So now you see that, the data, the column name is SN, GN and description. Because why it is showing this way? Because I modified the table forcibly, right? But right, so that is one type of transformation that you can do with the data, right? And this is the data that is present in the which is actually loaded from my CSV file. If you see, I have a till 17 page. Okay, so currently this preview is showing all those data present in. Okay, and whatever the value there in these CSV file, that is being replicated here. All right. So with that option, so basically we are done with the the first step in the ETL job. We need to add a second step, that is transform stage. Okay, so in the transform stage, I'm going to use change schema. Okay, so that is the the transformation thing that I'm going to show you in this demo, right? So as I promised here, so this is our heart of the demo, that is AWS Glue transforming, right? So in the AWS Glue transforming, so here I'm using basically from the transform, when you click on this plus button, you see there are huge list of transform. In the sense, these are like in the ETL job, that is extract, transform and load. In transform, we have a lots of templates available, that is change schema, join, SQL query, blah blah. Lots of huge list of transform is there. In that one, we are interested in this the change schema, right? So let me keep the name itself as a change schema. And here you see that node parent is nothing but what is the source of this change schema, that is S3 bucket. Okay, now in the change schema, so as you know that the change schema, the name itself says, right? So you're gonna change the column name. Okay, so here again you can change the the column name in the target. So for example, say you want to call it as a ID, and then name you want to rebrand it as a name, right? And the description, let's say you want to brand it as a summary. So right, I'm just we are just showing you the lots of options that you can do in the this one. You see whatever I'm changing here, that is getting replicated in the left hand side. Okay, so data preview is also getting changed accordingly, right? So this is in a schema stage. In the schema stage, this is what happens to your data. In the sense, your column values are taking a different shapes. All right, so with that options, we're gonna go to the another option, that is destination. So my destination here is again an S3 bucket, as I showed you in the demo. So this is how it looks. I'm going to click on this. If you go to the my diagram again, so once the glue transformation is happening, so here this is where now we need to do another thing, that is actually so basically we are constructing this AWS glue transforming, right? So that is, this is our source, this is our definition, this is our destination, right? And that is where we are here. Okay, so this is our Parquet file data, right? That is nothing but an S3 bucket with source of Parquet files. So let me call it as a destination S3 bucket. So let me call it as a destination. So this is our destination S3 bucket, destination S3 bucket. Yeah, and then here our node parent is change schema, that is obvious, and then the format is Parquet format. Let me keep it as it is, and then the compression type, let it be snappy. Yeah, and then the targeted location. So here we need to give a targeted locations to this the file. So here for that case I have another bucket called Parquet bucket data. Okay, so I'm going to click on that bucket, and that bucket is currently empty bucket, so I'm just going to give it the path something like this. And then with that option, so what I do is I'm going to yeah, so with that option what I do is I'm going to save this one. So basically, and we're going to run this job. In the sense, now we have defined this job. You can go back to the your AWS Glue options here and click on ETL jobs. It will take you to the ETL definition that we have written here. You can click on this and then click on a run job. Basically it actually it runs this job. Okay, so we need to wait for this job to get completed. It will get completed in a couple of seconds. So we're going to go back to the the run actually. So currently it is running. So we need to wait for this job is run. Then we're gonna go to the next option, that is from S3 bucket Parquet file data to AWS Glue Data Catalog. Okay, let's see how to do that now. So this is basically, as I showed you, so this is how we define so when you write a ETL job, AWS provides you two options. Either you can write a script, or either you can use a visual options. Okay, so script is, so basically your visual options gets converted into a script like this. Okay, so you can also write a script like this. You see our visual options now got converted like this. Yeah, all right, so let's wait for the job to get complete, and then we're gonna see that we're gonna go for the next option, that is that is to create another crawler which actually crawls our data. So here you see it got succeeded. What does that mean? In the sense, we should be having another basically we should see the Parquet file getting created in a S3 bucket. So I'm going to go back to our destination S3 bucket or Parquet bucket basically. So if I refresh it here, you see that it got just now got created. In the sense, these Parquet files are just now got created. All right, so with that said, basically we are successful with the ETL job as well. So this is how you can construct the ETL job. That's also another note. Now let's go to the another crawler, that is to create another crawler basically. So you go to crawlers, and then here you need to create a crawler called say like so this is a destination crawler. So let's say this is a source data. I'm going to call it as a destination data. So I'm going to call it as a dest data. So this is a my dest data crawler, and here I'm going to use the data source here. So here my data source is what? It's my S3 bucket, right? So for that case, it's the same format which we have experimented earlier, right? So we're going to do that the same thing. So we're going to go to that bucket and call it as a Parquet bucket, and select this like this, and put a / so that the error goes off, and then crawl all subfolders. So that's what we're going to queue, and click on add source bucket, and then go on this one. This is a configurations, security configurations, where we need to provide an IAM rule. So this is my IAM role which I explained earlier, and then click on next. right? In the set the output and security. So this is where we need to do something. So here we're going to choose the our table called we're going to choose the same database which we created again, but this time I'm going to give a prefix to my table. Okay, so for that case I'm going to give it as a parquet as a prefix, right? And then in the advanced option, so we're going to go to the advanced option. So here you need to choose this one. Basically in the advanced option, in the sense S3 schema grouping, right? So these are all the configurations which you need to maintain as I suggested here, because this is the best practices. Okay, so here when the crawler detects a schema change in the store, how should the glue crawler handle the table updates? In that case, add new columns. So how should the glue handles the detect the object in the data source? Okay, so this one you can keep it all default. Okay, so with that being said, in the advanced options, okay, so we're going to minimize that, and we're going to go to the, basically again you know it's up to your requirement basically. So here, how should AWS Glue handle the detected object in the data source? It says mark the table as deprecated in the catalog, or ignore the changes that don't update the table, delete the table partitions. Okay, so create a partition. Okay, so let me keep it default because this does not make sense. All right, so with that, now click on create a crawler. So once the crawler is created, let's run this crawler. Okay, so if you refresh it now, so we will have another crawler called dest data. We're going to run this crawler and see that our data gets populated in the another table called parquet table, right? So parquet table is nothing but that is your like a fully refined transformed table. Yeah. So basically, this is this is how basically we use AWS Glue to do multiple activities to extract your data. You do a cleansing of data. So the cleansing of data is nothing but transform, right? So basically, transform is a very big word. So underneath the transformation, you have lots of options to transform, right? You want to change the column, you want to customize you want to customly append the values of each rows, or you want to do some calculation and append some data, or you want to do certain custom things with the data present in the each rows of the the extracted data, right? So there are huge list of things that that you can do, and that's where this demo is meant for, to enable you like how you can use the native capabilities of AWS Glue, where it provides a huge list of transformation. Like here I have showed you like how to do a schema transformation. Okay, so with that being said, so currently it is running, and we should be, so basically here our target is we should be able to see another table getting populated. Currently looks like our job is succeeded. If I refresh it again, so currently it is stopping. Once it is stopped, we should be able to see a table with the prefix called parquet and then the table name. Okay, so let's see if that got created. Then we are actually done with the option. So I'm going to go to the database. So we have pointed to demo database again, and here you go, right? So here we have another table called parquet database. So if you go to the schema, here you go, right? So now your schema got changed from so where were we? So our column name was like column 0, column 1, column 2. Now it got changed to like ID, name, and summary. So basically that column name got changed at a multiple level, right? So here when it is extracted, we changed in the AWS Glue Data Catalog. We also changed in the AWS Glue transforming, and finally in the final from parquet data to AWS Glue Data Catalog. So the final the column or final schema that appears is something like this. Okay. All right. So with that being said, I have shown you the things need to be shown in this final video. This is basically is to enable you how to consume the AWS Glue transformation capabilities, and this is a part of ETL job. All right. So with that note, thank you very much for watching my video. Kind request, please do subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. So with that note, thank you. Thanks a lot, and see you in the next video.